What we're looking at here is an all original interior from 1927. So this is the original mohair. So I have perfect patterns to duplicate the original, which is what I'm going to be doing. So this one here is beat up pretty good. It's weathered. What was that? Oh, that's my finger. Okay. So anyway, I'm getting ready to strip these seats down because I'm going to pull off all the material and give the customer back the seat frames. That way he can do whatever prep work he wants to do on the seat frames before I put the new covers on. And I also got some material samples for him to choose from, so he'll be making those choices also. So I'm going to start tearing it apart. I'm just now documenting how all this here is coming apart, so that way I know how it goes back together. So I always take a bunch of pictures. So that way I have something to refer back to. And it'll go back together the way it's supposed to. No guessing. Something occurred to me as I was taking this apart was whoever it is that put these tacks in that I'm removing now, they put these in almost 100 years ago. And just a little amazing to me. So when I took off the front seat backrest, I could see here that there's a few surprises. Pretty sure nobody knew that that was there. So anyway, that's just one of the things. When I threw this backrest up here on the horse, this fell out. So this is one of the tufts that are inside of the pleats. So when you see the pleats here, this really here is what's inside each one of those. And this might be a good time to explain that. So what they do is they take this big roll of cotton like this and they sandwich it between two long metal, they're like giant spoons. And that's what you use with the two spoons with metal on both sides, with this inside between the two spoons. You insert it into a pocket, which would be this. And that's how they get in there. But this particular seat, there's also another method of doing that, and that's the method I'm going to be using, is to actually sew these rolls into the material rather than inserting them with the spoons. I've done that before with the spoons many years ago in the good old days, and so that's how I know how to do that. But we're going to go for the different method this time around. Here's a better look at those pockets I was telling you about. So there's a thin linen that's used as the backing, and then you got your material and the cotton that goes in between them. So there would be an opening on the end such as this, where you feed the cotton into the pocket with the metal shoe plates. Then you slide it out once it's in place. In case if you're wondering about all that traffic noise, that's it right over there. I'm right next to the highway, which I guess is good for business. I got everything apart. So these are all the covers. Got some seat frames all stacked up over there for the customer. So that was pretty bad. It was pretty nasty. Very dusty. That's why I was working outside here, because it was pretty bad. But I got it done. Now for tip number 2145. What I'm doing now is I'm cutting out a cross section of this seat cover here so that I can get an accurate measurement on how far I need to space out the pleats. So I'm going to finish cutting this out and take it apart. I'll be able to lay it flat and take my measurement. So this is what I've got so far. So I took this apart and you can see what that looks like on the inside. And you can see how this is folded over the way it was sewn. So now I'm going to lift the cotton out, which I also got to duplicate that. And there's our top fabric with the folds. So I'm going to spread this out, take my measurement, make my pleats. It looks like what I'm seeing here are about 4-inch pleats, and on the bottom and on the top looks like about 4 1/4, which I think I'm going to go 4 1/2. Make our pleats nice and fluffy. Don't want them to look too tight. I guess that's about 4 1/4. That's what I'm seeing right there. I got all my panels all marked out. So this vinyl here is what I'm going to be using for the backing, which replaces this backing here. And then here's the fabric that I'm using for the job. That's what the seats are going to be upholstered in. So I got this, also got this marked out. So I decided on the 4 1/2 inches, which is greater than the 4 1/4, because I'm going to be putting more of a gathering on each sewn area. So you can see here where they had it folded and they sewed right on the edge here. Well, I'm going to be sewing a little bit further back here, a little more meat there. So that's the reason for that. What I did here is I'm going to make 2 layers for each pocket. So I measured one at 3 1/2 and one at 3. So what I'm going to do is I'll put the narrower one on top of the wider. So then just start cutting them out. Sharpen my scissors. It's working a lot better now. Still a little tough because this cotton is tough stuff. Rather than the metal shoes method that I mentioned in the video earlier, what I'm doing is I'm going to do this different method here, where I'm just actually just going to sew it right into the, sew it right together. So I'm going to set the cotton. What we need to do is where I have my line drawn, got to crease the line. That way it doesn't move. Now what we're going to do is we're going to match the two lines. And we'll start sewing. Make sure that the cotton is tucked in real nice. Match the two lines. So this type of a pleat, unlike just doing top stitch pleats, are not as critical. You don't have to be like laser line straight. There's a lot of forgiveness in this type of a pleat here. So you don't have to be so critical. So right here, you can see here probably where I'm on the line, and maybe over here I'm just a little bit over the line. And maybe my stitching isn't perfect. Kind of hard to do because you're fighting against the cotton here. But in the end, the result, they're always going to be the same. Because this material folds over the other pleat like that, you never see what's going on with that stitch in the back. So I'll just continue. Another way I think that it can be easier, but it's more work, is to fold your crease on the line and then sew that edge. Just one more step for each pleat, but at least now you got a nice clean edge here, so that way when you go to match the lines with cotton as your fill, now you can just go right to the line right there. Match the two lines right there and just sew it up. Now I got all the pleats sewn up. I also cut out the patterns for the side of the seat here, as well as the welt. And I'm just putting all that together right now. As you can see, it's under the sewing machine. I attached the springs to the wood base using these straps here. Tied them down so that way it doesn't move around, because it was really independent of each other. So now what I am going to do is put on this jute pad over the springs and then install my seat cover. So now that I got the cover installed, so what I do, you know, you got to stretch it, staple it, put it in place. But what I'm doing now is, because this is a modern velour, because he didn't want to go with the original mohair, which might be kind of hard to find anyway. Um, the original, or the velour has a nap to it, so if you stroke it this way, it'll be shiny. If you stroke it this way, it roughs it up. So what I'm going to do, instead of giving him an interior that looks modern, what I'm going to do is I take the steamer and I play with the nap like this, and I go against the nap, so it's actually raising the fibers, making it look more like the original mohair. So we're going to call this technique number 4225. So you can see here the nap of the natural material, how it appears lighter in color and smoother. What I do is I take the steamer and I roughen it up a little bit like that. So it gives it more of an appearance of original mohair. And it's not costing my customer anymore to give it this look. So I'm just going to continue here and do the rest of the seat. And I'm going to bore you guys with doing the whole thing and making you watch. So I'll be back in a little bit. Just out of curiosity, I wanted to see what this seat would look like in this old car, 1927. And this is what we ended up with. Just a reminder of what the original looked like.